Hello and welcome to My Trans Best Friend, the show where me, Lily, your trans best friend, or as I mentioned last time, potentially one of your trans best friends, talks about the things that interest me, that excite me, that get me going, upset me, whatever's on my mind. A lot of times when we do this podcast, it's just you, the listener, and me. It's a one-on-one situation where I am rambling about literally anything. In and out last time, I think, my daily routine, whatever. But sometimes we have a special guest, and today is one of those sometimes. I am so excited to introduce my guest to you. But before I do, this podcast is brought to you by Lily's Lovelies on Patreon. What is Patreon, you ask? Basically, it's a way to support ya girl. You got $5 a month. You got less than a Starbucks coffee per month. That helps me make stuff like this podcast. For reference, it is July 14th when we're recording this. I'm going to put this out on Patreon on July 14th. But statistically, if you're listening to this right now, you are hearing it July 20-something or later in 2023. You could have had it sooner. Kicking yourself. You could have had it sooner if you were subscribed on Patreon at the $5 tier. If you wanted to see my boobies, you could at the $10 tier. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm not pushing that on you. However you want to interact with me. The point is that people like Dakota, people like Caitlin on Patreon subscribed at the elite level, and a whole bunch of other folks are there making my content possible. If you want to be one of those people getting all sorts of extra goodies, patreon.com/LILLYTINO. Now that business is out of the way, I alluded previously to a guest, and a guest we have. I am pleased to introduce you to a good friend of mine. Her name is Rosemary. Welcome, Rosemary.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Rosemary
I'm
Campbell.
so
I guess I should say your
honored.
last name. I don't know.
Sure, I'm a public figure of
You are.
some kinds, in a
You
sense.
are. Would you
I
like to
am.
introduce yourself or just tell us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Rosemary Campbell. I'm a San Franciscan weirdo. I run half of a tech and arts collective called Galaxy Brain here in town.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm out
What
here.
is
I'm also a
Galaxy Brain?
singer.
Talk about Galaxy Brain.
Yeah, we're a tech and arts collective in San Francisco. That means that me and my creative partner Philip are big nerds and art nerds specifically. So we kind of took it upon ourselves to learn all of the technical aspects of making art, and now we do audio engineering, and we do podcast production, and we do printing. I have you can see, everyone else can't see this, but
Some
I have
people
a
can.
big
Some people,
really
we're recording video. Maybe I
oh
should have
dope.
specified that. I
I
hope
mean,
that's
like,
okay.
no, it's fine. I was already, so you can see. I'm gonna swing this mic out, and you can see that's a risograph printing machine right behind me.
Oh.
Its name is Animal. It's very sweet. What else
I've
do we
been in
do?
that room where you're standing, and I mean, there's only a fraction that you're showing of the goodies in that room.
Right. Yeah, we're building electronics. Where I paint sometimes. Yeah, and then on the side, I'm also a singer songwriter under the name Fennel Flowers.
Heck yes, you are. Beautiful music on
Thank you.
Spotify. We'll
I
plug it at
am
the end.
working on. I will mention I'm working on an EP right now, coming out soon.
Okay. Fennel Flowers. Check her out.
That's me.
Um, Rosemary,
Hi.
hello.
Hi.
We both live in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Do we not?
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
Uh huh.
San Francisco is a good city,
It's
and
so good.
it's a good city. I like it here. I moved from Atlanta to San Francisco, and God, it's just night and day.
Is it?
There's no comparison.
I believe
Look,
you, but I've never been.
it's fine. You know, I'm a Southern girl. You know this. I could bring
I
out my
do.
Southern accent. And apologies to Liz, who's listening right now, who doesn't like when I do my Southern accent. Sorry, Liz, but your Tootsie Roll opinions earned you this. Rosemary
Wow.
doesn't. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay. There's this person, Liz. She's one of my mods, and she's been a Lily's Lovely forever. But she just has this. Well, actually, let me ask you. What are your feelings on Tootsie Rolls?
Here's the thing. I like Tootsie Rolls, but I also find them deeply uncanny because they are a chewy candy that's meant to taste like chocolate but doesn't.
Okay, but you still have a high opinion of them overall.
I'm still pretty happy with them. I will say I think the best form factor of Tootsie as a material is
Hmm.
the Tootsie Roll Pop.
Okay. Okay. Look, I agree, but
Okay.
only because of the pop. There's something
Right.
else. I don't want what's in the
Sure.
middle. What would you rank Tootsie as a component overall? The roll or the center of the pop?
I actually I think there's a bunch of things that make this a good idea. One being Tootsie's not bad. It's kind of nice. It's like a pleasant little chewy experience. I think that's a nice contrast to the
Mm,
candy shell. Thing number two, a lollipop is too much. A lollipop that is solid all the way through is like that's so much, and you get to the
it's a
thin little
lot.
part, and you're like, there's nothing, there's nothing. Why am I doing this to
It's a
myself?
lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
The Tootsie Roll Pop is a nice way to do that. No, thing number three, it's much better than the alternative hollow lollipop situation, which is a like bubblegum in the center thing, and that's weird.
Yeah, I don't think that either are particularly effective overall as candies because as someone who doesn't like Tootsie,
Uh huh.
I'm not into that. But then
Yeah.
also the bubble gum is never that good.
No, it's not.
Um,
It's honestly pretty bad. Pretty bad bubblegum all the time.
it's bad. Now
Yeah.
Tootsie is trying to be taffy, more or less, right? It's like a version of taffy,
Yeah. Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
right? It's kind of
Yeah.
analogous to a Laffy Taffy, which is very much trying to be taffy. It's just
Right.
chocolate flavored taffy.
Tootsie's kind of a
Um,
dead serious taffy.
it is a dead serious taffy. It is there's no levity to that taffy
No, no.
whatsoever.
This is serious as a funeral taffy.
Oh yeah, and also as pleasant as a funeral, if you ask me.
Great.
Anyways, what I would put in the
Anyways,
center of a lollipop would probably be actual saltwater taffy. I feel like
that
that
would
would
be
be
delicious.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. You're an innovator.
Specifically, a Chupa Chup on the outside, like the fruit cream lollipops. Any one
Chupa
of
Chup?
those? Yeah, you know Chupa Chups.
I
You would
don't.
recognize the branding.
Okay.
You would
Okay.
recognize the branding.
I believe you.
Anyways, we're getting off topic here, Rosemary.
That's okay.
This is what we do when we speak. Is it's just tangent after tangent. We're opening tabs. We're closing tabs. We're getting back to the main page.
This is what we do. Yeah.
Okay. San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you
Yeah.
to create a list, a top 5 list. Rosemary's top 5 things to do in San
Yes.
Francisco.
Yep.
And I'm excited to hear what you have to say. I, of course, have done a lot of things, but I'm curious how many of these things that you have on your list I've done. And yeah, I guess we're about to find out. Do you want to start from number 5 and move up?
Yeah, I actually do. I'm gonna preamble a little bit
Mm,
by saying I think something that's important about San Francisco is that I believe very strongly that San Francisco is a far better place to live than it is to visit. And I'm gonna give you some
agree.
stuff that are like an experience. I think you honestly could do all this stuff if you were visiting San Francisco and you would
Right.
have like a really killer time. I will say it's all enhanced by doing it many, many times and making friends and
Mm,
then doing it with your friends and having it be a normal part of your life. Like it's such a beautiful place to live and part of that is because like it's a small enough city that you run into people everywhere.
that is true.
It's great.
That is very true, especially in the queer community.
I couldn't. It was so funny. I made no plans for Pride this past June, very recently, and everywhere I went, I just found people I knew. Multiple people I knew from multiple different places. Like some people
Hmm.
who I knew, and I just like was, like linking people up. Like, hey, I know you because of this thing, and I know you because of this thing, and like you two should be friends.
Yeah.
Um, it
It's
was
like
easy.
7 degrees of trans girls in San Francisco. Like
Yeah,
how many people do you need to go through before you know someone?
basically two max.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
it.
much, pretty much. Now, okay, question. I know
Yeah.
obviously this will be answered as we hear the list, but
Great.
Are we including like the wharf, right, or touristy things, or is it no? Okay, let
There are some touristy things in here. I will say
okay,
that.
okay. So I'll leave that question unanswered
Great.
because I think there is a line to walk as a
Yeah.
tourist, because when I go visit places, there is some value in experiencing like the touristy parts of a town, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've never been to New York, of course you want to go to Times Square, right? It's like even though it's not the quote unquote real New York,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of is an encapsulation of like, look, I don't have 2 months to explore the city. Like
Right.
this is like the highlight, or kind of is going to give me the vibe in a big way. But yeah, I'm excited to hear. Let's dig into it. What's your number five?
Great. Okay. Step one is eat. I would
Mm.
say specifically eat a mission burrito.
Oh,
You know,
yes,
I
I
can
do.
expound upon this. I have
I
a
do.
bunch of specific taquerias I really enjoy. If I'm about to go see a movie, which I'll get to later, I'll talk a little bit about
So
seeing
number
movies in San
five is
Francisco.
eat a burrito.
Eat a burrito. Eat a mission
Okay.
burrito.
Yeah.
You could go to Pancho Villa on 16th Street. It's great if you're about to go to the Roxy, which is a wonderful theater that I'll talk about later.
Oh, okay.
Really beautiful. You could also go to Taqueria La Cumbre, which is one of my very favorites and one of the original Mission Burrito places that started making them back in the 50s. Should I talk about what a
Okay.
Mission Burrito
You
is?
really should, because
Great.
I think it's not like a burrito on a mission. This is not a determined burrito.
Well, in some senses, it is a certain amount of determination.
Okay.
Okay.
Go on.
I'm doing this straight off the dome, so I'm going to get some facts wrong, and that's going to be
Mm.
fine, but I'll give you the gist. The
Okay.
gist is back in the 50s in the Mission District of San Francisco, named for the Mission Dolores actual mission, the big old church built by the Spanish.
Okay.
There are all of these Spanish speaking workers hanging out in that neighborhood, living there, working there. And there are these taquerias that cater to people who are used to like northern Mexican food, standard. What they started doing in order to have like really, really hearty, like I just did 8 hours of work before 4 p.m. type of people.
Mm-hmm.
This is when the technology became available to make really, really big flour tortillas.
The
Uh,
technology?
the technology. You have to steam these tortillas in a very specific way to make a like 12 or 14-inch flour tortilla.
Yeah, they are big.
Most They're really big. And it's like modern very white flour is how you normally make these
Mm-hmm.
or these days. Most of what you're getting back then is like, corn tortillas, which they have a structural integrity limit and are not going
That
to
they
get
do.
much bigger,
That they do.
than like 8 inches. So a mission burrito is made to be extremely hearty. Giant flour tortilla. You have rice, you have beans, you have a meat, you have a salsa, you have sour cream, usually, you have guacamole, usually. Um, and there are some other weird little extras. There are some other variations, but basically, what you're looking at is a giant, hearty burrito
Mm-hmm.
with everything, con todo.
Okay. What was that?
Yeah,
One more time. Con
con todo.
todo?
Yeah, you don't speak any
T O
Spanish, do
T O.
you?
I do not speak Spanish. I
Tio
speak French.
tio dio.
T O
Oh,
D O. Todo. Got it.
oh. Well, let's see. With in French, it would be avec tu.
Like complete, maybe.
Complète. Yeah, maybe. Con todo is just one with everything. You can
Mm,
you can go to a well, you kind of can't do this because you need to specify too many things. But back in the day, you could go to a burrito place and you could say uno con todo and get
okay.
one with everything.
Right. Yeah. There's a
Um,
lot of options in these taquerias.
there's a lot of options. Can I make a
Cor-
recommendation?
yes.
My recommendation, if you've never had this and you eat meat and you're willing to be just a little bit adventurous, get the lengua.
La lingua.
Lengua. It's tongue. It's
Lengua.
delicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tongue.
I
So
see
good.
it. I see it. I see it on the menu. I just.
Yeah.
Look, I've had tongue. It's not.
Okay.
Okay.
You've had tongue?
If you're not watching this, you're missing some eye movements. All right. Okay.
Good Lord.
Question. So
Yeah.
Mission burritos.
Yeah.
I've lived in San Francisco for about 3 years, and I've had many of them.
Yeah.
But ingredient wise,
Yeah.
sounds like there's nothing. There's no like special ingredient that makes a Mission burrito versus a burrito made anywhere else. It's just, is there? Like, what
There kind of
really?
is.
Okay.
So a standard burrito that, well, the thing is, the thing about the Mission burrito is that the concept of it has spread significantly. And so,
Right.
despite the fact that a burrito that you get outside of the Mission is not technically a Mission burrito, a lot of times when in America we're talking about burritos, we're talking about Mission burritos. In the
Yeah.
same way that
Yeah.
this is another San Francisco food thing. When we talk about Chinese food in America,
hmm
most of what we're talking about is Cantonese American food that went through San Francisco. So there's a
Is
big
that
diaspora.
so? I did not
Yeah.
know that. I
Yeah.
mean, Chinatown here is significant.
Well, yeah, and historically significant being like basically the place of entry for a lot of Chinese immigrants back in the
Right.
day.
Right. God, that's so
Um,
fascinating.
the thing that makes the Mission Burrito is, as far as I can tell, rice and beans. A burrito of the like classical style that you get in Mexico, in the north of Mexico, is not going to
Mm.
have rice and beans in it. It might have beans. It's probably not going to have rice.
Mm.
Um, and then there's also variations like, and this is actually spread up north and is amazing, but the San Diegan California burrito doesn't have rice and beans. It has French fries. French fries,
Hell yeah, it
meat,
does. Okay.
guacamole,
Yeah.
salsa, cheese. So incredibly good.
Like I've heard
Taqueria,
that
La Coma
called a
burrito is one.
NorCal, like a NorCal burrito.
I think that's so funny because I think it's specifically SoCal, but
Hmm. Maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know.
I mean it's also just like such a strange. Everybody gets everything from everywhere that it doesn't matter anymore where you're
Right.
from. You can get a California burrito all over the place. I've had a Mission burrito in Berlin. There's a burrito place called Valencia, which is a street in the Mission in
Right.
Berlin. They have a big map of San Francisco on the wall. They had Mission burritos. I had to have one. It was fine.
Fine.
It was
Okay.
fine. It's
I
pretty
was
good
in
for Berlin.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think they're necessarily known for Mexican food there. Believe it or not, I had a Mexican food experience in Germany as well, but mine
Really?
was in Cologne when I was at Gamescom last year before I did content full time.
Yeah.
And there was an I think it was an Nvidia hosted like we pay for chips and stuff like in like
Sure.
drinks or whatever. Like they just like covered the tab for whoever wanted. Doesn't matter. The point
Yeah.
is that it was an American themed restaurant.
Yeah.
So it was like all of like some it's like someone heard on a phone, like telephone, what Americans ate and made a menu out of it. So it was like the New York uh, whatever, the San Francisco this, the Minnesota that, and none of it was good. It was all disgusting. Like chicken fingers, just there's something slimy about them.
Oh,
But the nachos,
the
oh my god,
nachos.
they had nachos, and I was like, finally some nachos. Like how could you get nachos wrong? I ordered the nachos.
Yes.
I'm gonna paint a picture for you here.
Please.
First layer, chips.
Uh-huh.
Second layer, well, there was no second layer. It was just chips and salsa. That was nachos.
Oh, that's
Nachos.
that's a damn shame.
It was a damn shame. And I just couldn't
That's
stop
just too bad.
laughing. And I was with someone who was Portuguese or some I think Portuguese, and she was like, "Yeah, this
Mhm.
is nachos." Apparently, that's what they call chips and dip.
Huh.
Nachos.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's too bad.
it is too bad.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Anyways, so
have a Mission burrito.
have a Mission burrito. And the last thing I'll say about this, you absolutely don't think that just because Mission burritos have spread and you can get
Mhm.
this kind of burrito in most places. So what makes it special in the Mission? It is hard to explain how much better basically any taqueria, especially the ones Rosemary is recommending, any
Mhm.
taqueria though is gonna be like it is like oh, clearly this is the birthplace of these because it's just
Yeah.
the quality is so much higher.
Yep. Yep, it really is. And there's a little bit of variation as you go up and down Mission Street or Valencia
Hmm.
Street. You will find different places that do things a little differently. El Buen Sabor is really good. El Farolito is really good.
Mm.
El Castillito, elsewhere in town, also
Mm.
extremely good.
Yep.
There's a lot. There's a
Yep.
lot.
Yep.
And as
Number
I alluded
four.
to, well, hold on.
Oh, okay.
One more thing. As I alluded to, San Francisco is this way the like birthplace of food fusions for
Hmm.
a lot of different foods. Chinese food being one of them. Our Burmese food also whips ass.
Burma Love. I was there on
Burma
stream.
love.
Oh
Yo. Yeah. Yamo in the Mission. Extremely good.
yeah. Yamo.
Yamo. It's on like
Never heard.
18th. It's on like 18th Street. It's like a little mom and pop place. It's like where
Okay.
all the little skater kids go. It's so good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Noted. Noted.
Yep.
Because I loved Burma Love, but that's my only Burmese experience with food. So
I need to have you back out in this neighborhood so we can go to Burma Superstar or Mandalay. We'll have a good time.
I'm down.
Great. Cool. Should I do
Okay.
number 4?
I think I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Number 4, go to a literary event.
Okay. Elaborate.
Great, I will. San Francisco, I think, is not usually thought of in this way these days, but has a storied history as a literary city. Jack Kerouac came through here. A lot of beat poetry came from here. There are touchstones. It's not nearly as literary as New York, which is like Manhattan specifically. The Village specifically is like one of the most dense American literature things in the world. But there is like an actual literary scene out here, and there are interesting events to go to. And because the scene is small enough, because it's not that big, honestly, there's not that many people. If you go to literary events, you will not only have a great time and see really talented writers like and poets reading their work, you'll also just start to recognize people, and they'll start to recognize you. There's really not that many people. You're going to recognize them. You're going to know them. I have met some of my favorite poets and authors just by dint of going to places and they are reading, and then they're one of 50 people in the room. And
Hmm.
so it's not that hard for me to go, hey, how you doing? I can talk a little bit about which ones are out there.
Okay.
There used to be an event called Writers with Drinks at the Makeout Room, which is sadly defunct, but hopefully that was run by Charlie Jane Anders, notable
Yeah.
science
I know
fiction
her.
trans writer. I know Charlie Jane. She's great.
I've never met her, to be clear. We just follow
Oh,
each other. She's very
okay.
sweet, though.
She is very sweet. I've met her a couple times, and she's friends of friends. Of course, as we alluded to earlier. That is sadly defunct, but there is an event also at the Makeout Room these days called Happy Endings.
The makeout room?
Yeah,
Does making out happen at this place?
I've never personally made out at the Makeout Room.
But like if it
Um,
happened, is everyone like, well, it's in the name? Or is it just not something that happens there?
I've really so the two things that I know the Makeout Room for are like weird little DJ sets, not like going there to see like house music or something, but going there to like dance to cumbia or something, or like funk records.
Okay.
I think if you made out at one of those, everyone would be like, yeah, that makes sense, as long as you're not in the way.
Okay.
I think if you make out during cumbia night, nobody's going to be too angry at you. That's one of the things that the Makeout Room is known for. The other thing is literary events, and I feel
Hmm.
like maybe there it's a little bit more like somebody is trying to read some poetry, and you're like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, you're
Make out.
playing tonsil
So the
hockey
make
over
out
the corner.
is contextual.
They usually are, in my
Yeah, I guess that
experience.
makes sense. Of course they are.
Yeah,
But when you hear the name the makeout room, you
right.
assume that one thing and one thing only is happening there, and that is making out.
Never seen it. There's a lot of places that I've been that have a lot more making out. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Is the next one the Folsom Street Fair?
No, which I've never actually been to. So I'm not. This is such a tame list. This is such a very tame list. I have to say. I do want to plug one more event though.
Okay.
I've started going to this thing. It's very small, but it is really promising. It's called the Light Jacket Reading Series.
Okay.
It is a monthly outdoor poetry reading. They meet some beautiful place in San Francisco. They just swoop in. We were in the Heroes Grove in Golden Gate Park this past weekend. It was incredibly beautiful, really wonderful local poets. It's just great. You show up and it's just a little picnic, and you get to hear like really wonderful poets read their work, and then you can just hang out,
Hmm.
just talk. It's very cool.
Interesting. I've never
I
been to
know.
something like that before.
It's so much fun. I love doing this kind of thing. I'm talking about like lit events specifically, but there are all kinds of weird arts things happening in San Francisco. It continues to be an art city, even though it's thought of as a tech city.
Right.
There's a lot of artists. I'm in my studio right now. The like little corridor that I'm on Clement Street is like definitely an arts corridor. I can see 3 galleries from right here
Hmm.
out my window.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. So I'm not as in the art scene as you are, but
Yeah.
I see them too. I see
Yeah.
galleries. I just kind of
They're
walk by, but
around.
it's like, oh yeah, gallery, art. There's art in there. I see some art in there. Cool.
Yeah.
You have to take me to something because I like. What would you say the vibe is for a lit event? I would imagine it changes, but like, are there drinks? And is there like a little coffee station? Is there food? Or is the chairs like all facing one direction? Like, what does it look like?
Riders with drinks and other events I've been to at the Makeout Room are very like chill and fun, and you're going to be like sitting in a uh beautiful little bar space, and there's a stage. Charlie Jane, just to further plug
Look
how
up
cool she
Charlie
is.
Jane Anders if you haven't,
Yeah,
listener.
she
She's worth it. Worth the look up.
yeah, she would do essentially stand-up comedy in between, like improvised. She's such a weird presenter. It's so good. She does these like surreal. She will give an author bio but have it be completely made up on the spot and has nothing to do with the author. And it's just astoundingly weird. It's a lot of fun. It's like really kind of a laugh riot. That was like very specifically like a bar setting. I've been to other things that are a little more like outdoor and still very jovial, but maybe not quite so like nightlifey.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it kind of runs the gamut. Everything is very down to earth though. Very seldom are you going to go to something and it's like, ooh, we're all standing around, contemplating.
Right. Do
It's
you?
not very stead.
Okay. Are there snaps? Is it like a snap thing? Like
It's more of
poetry?
I have never, the only events I've been to in San Francisco that were snaps instead of claps were like socialist organizing events.
Uh
But
oh. Are you a
poetry,
socialist? I'm kidding. I know you're a socialist.
yeah. Um, and so are the poets, to be clear, but we
Mm.
clap for poets.
Okay, we clap for poets. Good
Seems
to
like
know.
it. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow.
Uh huh.
All right, good to know. We now know about lit events.
Mm hmm.
Are you ready for number 3?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Go to a local bookstore. I'm so sorry. I'm such a big nerd. I'm so sorry. I'm such a big nerd. Go to a
Nerd
local
alert.
bookstore. I know. Specifically, go to Green Apple on
Green
Clement
apple.
Street.
Okay.
Have you been?
No.
Okay. It's so cool. There are a few different funky little independent bookstores in San Francisco. There are some that are very storied. Green Apple is kind of storied. It was built in like the 60s, 67, I think. It's a weird, rambling Victorian building. All of these different rooms named after different kinds of apples. There's the Granny Smith room. There's the Red Delicious room. And floor
Are
to
there different
ceiling.
genres of things in each room?
Yeah. And
Okay.
so if you ask somebody who works there, or if you ask me, because I know the place basically by heart, like, oh, where can I find hermeneutics? Then I would say
What?
hermeneutics. Might
Hermeneutics?
be
What is
pronounced hermeneutics. It's the philosophical practice of investigating holy texts.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay.
I'm pretty sure Granny Smith room. Fairly
Okay.
sure. Up on the second floor. Wonderful place. You can spend hours and hours and hours in there. And I do. And I do. You can find anything. You can find anything on anything you would ever wish to know.
Hmm.
It's wonderful.
Are they cool with you like taking a book, and do they have like seats that you can read in? Or
I
do
have
they
on
want you to just buy it?
occasion.
Yeah.
They really would rather that you buy something, but
Makes sense.
I have spent some time. I'm the kind of person who I will read like 15 pages of something before I buy it, and so I will stand around or I will sit on a little footstool, in the
Mm,
corner of a room and
got it.
do something like that. It used to be there used to be a place this is a thing that I love about San Francisco, but also loathe about San Francisco, is that it changes all the time.
Hmm.
I'm sure that there will be another beautiful bookstore like this one day, but I used to go to this place called Aardvark Books on Church Street that was had little chairs, was very beautiful and airy, and also had a wonderful orange cat that would
Hmm.
just wander up and down the aisles. If you sat down to read a book, the cat would sit in your lap.
That's such a mood.
I know.
That's such a mood.
I know. It was
Like
great.
I feel like that cat is the main character in a movie about the bookstore, or like
Yeah.
or like the sidekick of whoever runs the bookstore, and you're
I
an
wish
NPC.
right. I really wish on this note that Pixar would take it down a notch from their like high concept stuff and just give
They've been
me
going hard lately.
they have. I I'm not
We're elements. We're fire and water now. We're brain chemicals. Look, I liked In and Out, but Toy Story. I guess Toy Story was kind of weird too. I don't know.
It
Go
was, but
on.
I mean like, grounded in some level of reality. Anyway,
Yeah.
I would love if they would just make a movie about a cat.
Mm.
Just do that for me one time. Just do that for me one time. Little orange
Just
cat.
Little Orange Cat. Well, they
Yeah.
did. Wait, did Pixar do Turning Red? That was about a
I never saw that.
panda.
You
Was
read
that Pixar?
Panda. I should
Yeah,
see that.
the little girl who turns into a panda. Panda?
Yeah.
I think it was a
I
panda.
think it's a red panda.
I
I
didn't
think
see
it's a
it.
red panda.
I
Oh,
didn't see it.
well. I used to go visit the red pandas at the San Francisco Zoo.
Oh,
They're
Oh.
very cute.
yeah.
They're really cute. They're
We kind of
adorable.
missed Panda Fever, didn't we? Panda Fever was a
Yeah,
thing.
it was for sure.
The world was very excited about pandas for a while.
The world was excited about pandas, and then there's a certain kind of person who realized that red pandas were ideal if you like raccoons, but you are scared of raccoons because red pandas are like raccoons that you don't have to be scared of.
Hmm.
A red panda doesn't look like it'll bite you.
A raccoon.
A
kinda
raccoon
does.
looks like it's plotting your death.
It probably is.
Probably is. San Francisco is full of raccoons, I should mention.
Is it really?
Oh
I
my
don't know if
god.
I've seen a single one.
Well, you live in a very well, there's got to be raccoon. I'm sure there's raccoons in the park near where you live.
There probably is. I
They're
just
out there.
don't. I don't know. I don't go as many places. I don't venture as into many unfamiliar territories. So maybe that's why.
I do venture. I do
You're a
venture.
venturer. That's why
I'm
you're
a
making the
venturer.
list, and I'm listening.
Great. Okay. That's it. Go to a local bookstore, have a great time, pick out a book, go to a cafe, read the book at the cafe. You'll feel amazing about yourself.
Yeah, there's plenty, and the
Mhm.
ones that are in my area that I only have ever gone into once to take a picture of me pretending to read a book. Uh, there's two of them. There's the beat poet.
City Lights.
No, I know that's the beat
No.
one, but
Yeah.
there's the
There's
beat
also the-
museum,
Right. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
which is like explicitly beat, whereas City Lights is the bookstore where it was kind of like that's actually where the beat stuff happened.
Yeah, down in that basement.
Yeah, that basement. That's where I took the picture. Okay.
Okay.
Number 2.
Number 2. Adopt a local movie theater.
What? Adopt a local movie theater?
Yeah.
Adopt.
Yeah.
That's an interesting
Adopt.
verb.
Well, okay. By which I mean what I like to do, there are two ways to be the kind of person who goes and sees a lot of movies.
Hmm.
There is being the kind of person who watches what's coming out and stays on top of the latest releases and then goes to like the big the AMC or whatever you have.
Metreon.
And sees this sure or goes
R.I.P.
to the Metreon.
Cinemark no longer. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's no
Yeah, it's too
whatever.
bad.
I have no sympathy for Cinemark. Anyways, go on.
Did I see John Wick 4 there? I might have.
I saw Fast 10 there, which was a terrible movie.
That's what I hear. Anyhow, there's one way of doing this in which you watch what's coming out and you do that. Or you could be the kind of person who goes to the local theaters. San Francisco is full of local theaters that are historic and strange, weird little neighborhood institutions. You find one that you like. You become a member, maybe, which is something that I've done a couple times. And then you go see weird stuff. And it's great.
These are movie theaters or like shows?
Movie theaters.
Movie theaters.
Movie
Got
theaters.
it.
I actually don't know much about the live theater scene in San Francisco. I know a couple people who know about the live theater scene, but I have not explored yet, which I should.
Okay. Well, hey, you can only be an expert in so much.
That's true. I would not say I'm an expert in any of this stuff, but I dabble. I'm around. I'm
Dabble.
having fun.
You're a dabbler. That's okay.
Let me
So
talk
so
about some
yeah,
theaters.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm a member of the Roxy. The Roxy was built in 1912. I
Okay.
mentioned it earlier. It's on 16th Street. It's a beautiful little place that does art films, and it does some major releases, but mostly it does like art films and foreign films and documentaries and weird movies that are indie and would not get a wider release elsewhere. You can see all kinds of stuff there. I'm going there next week to see Inland Empire, a David Lynch film. I was just there to see Beau Travail, which is a wonderful French, very homoerotic
One more
film.
time. What's it called?
Beau Travail.
Beautrevel.
Mm-hmm. Good
Okay.
work.
Got it.
Very good. Extremely good.
Okay.
Claire
What
Denis
was it
film.
about? Give me a sample.
Yeah, it's a bunch of French foreign legionnaires in somewhere in Africa, and there is a psychosexual power struggle between an officer and like a new recruit, and it's great.
Hmm.
It's great. It's very strange. It's very beautiful. It loves. It has a lot to say about I don't know, the movement of bodies in space. Has a lot to say about masculinity. It's great. It's wonderful.
Okay. Interesting.
This is the kind of thing
Cool.
that you see if you decide that you're just going to go to whatever plays at some theater. I love the Roxy. I go to the Balboa Theater, which was from 1926. And then there's also, of course, the Castro, which is very famous and is kind of one
Right.
of these theaters as well.
Oh.
The Castro also does weird stuff like sing-along nights where you'll show up to something that I went to a while back was they were showing The Little Mermaid, the animated Little Mermaid, and it was a
Mhm.
sing along, and everybody sang everything. It's great.
Well, I like that because it's better than like just saying we're showing the Little Mermaid and everyone's singing along. Like it sets the expectation, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah, you got to know. I also
So,
saw
go ahead.
Star Trek Wrath of Khan, and there was a Star Trek drag show beforehand, which was
Now that is excellent.
it was great.
I learned recently that Khan is someone in like brown face. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's Ricardo Montalban playing Khan Noonien Singh, who is I think Indian Canadian in canon.
So
He's from
Hispanic person
Toronto.
playing an Indian person,
Yes, yes,
and they made him darker.
a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Got it. Look,
it
I
was the
never.
it was the 80s.
Right.
It's the kind of thing that one did back
Sure.
then.
I mean, I guess it's better than one person doing it. I just
I want to
remember
apologize for
when
it.
when I learned that from a few weeks ago. Like, wait a minute, but didn't Benedict Cumberbatch play Khan? Like, what happened
People were
there?
so mad. People were so mad, and they very specifically in the like remake in which he was playing Khan, they never did say Khan's full name because they figured once somebody said Khan Noonien Singh, the jig was up. We know what's going on.
This is a white actor playing an Indian character.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Oh God,
I know. I know.
there are so many excellent people you could have gotten before Khan or before Benedict.
I know. I know. I know. I have a lot of criticisms of that movie.
Yeah. Other
Just too bad.
than it's not that good in the first
It's
place.
that's maybe my biggest criticism is like I wish you had made it good. I wish
Yeah.
you'd made a good one.
Mm. Yeah, those none of those new Star Trek movies really got me in a big way.
I liked the first one, made me pretty happy. Anyway, Wrath of Khan is extremely good though and is worth
Mm.
a watch.
Okay, got it. Yeah, yeah, okay. I was always more of a Star Trek girl. It's just sorry, Star Wars, Star Wars. I meant
I
Star
know this
Wars.
about you.
Yeah, nothing against Star Trek. It was just the serialized TV nature of it. There's a lot more Star Trek.
And most of it sucks so bad.
Right,
Most Star Trek is trash.
but it's a vibe.
Trash. It is
It's a
absolutely a vibe.
Star Trek is all about vibes. Like I feel
Yes.
like if you like Star Trek, that means you like the idea of adventuring around on a ship and just doing shit together. Doesn't really
It's great.
matter as much what you're doing. It's about the fact that it's a vibe of the team.
Yeah. What happens happens, you know? We're going to hang out, we're going to go to some new planets, we're going to
Yeah.
I don't know, some seduce some blue girls or something.
Yeah.
I don't
Fight,
know. That's
throw a rock at a dinosaur or something, whatever that was, lizard
right.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you
Okay.
know plenty about Star Trek. You're good to go.
I've seen that scene. I've
Yeah.
seen some. Well, okay. I watched the new season. The one of the first couple seasons of Discovery were good for me.
Oh, yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, I
I
fell
think
off
I
after
watched the
that.
first couple of me too.
It was fine.
It's fine.
Enjoyed it. It was
Yeah.
cool. It was like, oh, Mark, or what's his name? Anthony Rapp is in it. He's gay. Ooh, gay people, fun.
And he loves mushrooms. Cool.
Oh, yeah. Does he? Does he like
Yeah.
mushroom? Oh, right. He's like a plant guy.
Yeah, his character is named after Paul Stamets, who's like a big psilocybin like advocate.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did not know that.
I did apparently.
Okay, last question about the theaters before we go to number one.
Yes. Yeah.
You mentioned a membership.
Yeah.
What does that mean to be a member?
Um
What do you get?
that
How much does it
means
cost?
usually not very much. You can this is kind of a way that like little local theaters who live in the who are in the most expensive city in the entire world,
Mm.
more or less, kind of make up for the fact that they're a weird little independent theater. You can become a member of a theater and you get discounts and stuff. Sometimes you get some weird little perks. Something I've also done with friends before is that we have on a night when the theater wasn't showing anything, rented it out, showed our own movie.
Is that
I
expensive?
forgot. Actually, no.
No.
For somebody who was already a member and who goes pretty often, like it wasn't that bad for to take 10 friends and go. What we did is I forget which theater this was now. It might have been the Vogue. Um, but we took it over and we saw Misery together. Yeah, it was great. It was so good. I'd never seen it.
Look, I've never seen Misery either. I've only seen a staged version of it, so I know exactly what happens.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah.
randomly one time my friend, I think he was still in high school, just surprised me and took me to a show, and
Uh huh.
it was a showing of Misery, and I
Cool.
and like as soon as the show started, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that this is a movie with Kathy Bates,
Uh
so like
huh.
I can imagine in my head all that happened. Just
Mm-hmm.
substitute in Kathy Bates, and it's freaky.
She's phenomenal. She's so good.
Hmm. I can only imagine.
So anyway, that's something you could do. I
Yeah,
love to take people to the Roxy. I love to show people weird little movies. We should go sometime.
I'm down.
I will inflict an art movie on you.
Oh, it wouldn't be inflicted.
Okay.
If I don't know if we talked about this before, but uh, I was a media and cultural studies major, so a lot of
Wow.
that was film stuff.
Interesting. I didn't
Many
know this about you.
classes, many papers written about. Like I used to be pretty into, I remember I took like a whole experimental film class where we watched Kenneth Anger and like some French movie where a lady just like cleans her house for 3 hours and then kills a guy.
I
And
know exactly what you're talking about, and I really want to see it.
it
And I forget
we
what it's called.
I forget what it's called, but it was like, oh, okay, I get this. It was cool, and like because I used to work in movies, sort of a little bit, not really, but
I
yeah,
don't think I know about this either.
yeah. I okay. So quick tangent. It
Yeah.
won't take long.
Great.
I majored in media cultural studies, but minored in education because that's how I had my whole teaching thing that I did. But weirdly enough, my main like education minor advisor,
Mm-hmm.
her husband, and I learned this just by knowing her, worked in video production in Minnesota or in St. Paul.
Yeah.
And I was interested in that. So I like, did my thing where I said, hey, can I like meet your husband and like tour? Because at the time they were doing this like multi-year long, it might have been like a whole year long shoot where they were filming what was essentially like a hair stylist tutorial. Like you want to go to beauty school, like it was like kind of half sitcom, half this is how you dye someone's hair kind of thing. And
Whoa.
there were like recurring characters and stories, and it was all on a soundstage. And
Cool.
I went to go visit the set just because I was interested, and basically like said, "Hi everyone, I am here. Like, so if you need anyone, like let me know," kind of thing. And then I
Mm-hmm.
started getting work as a production assistant in St. Paul, Minnesota. I didn't ever work on that particular set, but I did everything from work on a Woody Harrelson movie for a day to shooting a commercial at the Mall of America to uh, doing celebrity tour buses with the bare naked ladies. Like, it was fun. I didn't make much money, but it
Sure.
was a little bit, and I could have gone further, but I moved, and then I moved to Atlanta to do film stuff too because I was like, okay, I'm a small fish in a small pond, and I'm getting some work. Let's move to Atlanta. But Atlanta, I was a microscopic fish in a massive pond and just
Yeah.
couldn't get anything, and
Wow.
eventually gave up.
Damn. I had no idea about this.
Yeah, fun
I
fact.
yeah. I can't believe I've filled in this part of your history.
Now you know.
Now I
So,
know.
long story short, I can appreciate an artsy movie here and there.
Let's go. Well, I have a Hungarian art film I'm trying to see, so I'll hit you up.
Oh my. Oh my. Okay. One condition for the art film that we go see together, it can't be a
Great.
tearjerker. I don't want
Okay.
a tearjerker. I want
Okay.
weird, weird, weird.
Okay. I can.
Okay.
I got you. I got you.
Thank you. Let's go to number one.
Number one. I'm so excited about this. It's so much in one. What I think everybody should do in San Francisco is take this very particular bike route. Um, this bike route kind of became possible or became easy to do early in the pandemic when they shut down a particular road running through Golden Gate Park. Golden Gate Park is a huge park in San Francisco. It's actually something like, I'm going to get this figure wrong. It's like 40% bigger than Central Park in Manhattan.
Is it really?
Yes, it's
It's
huge
big.
and
It's definitely
better.
big.
Central Park is kind of a lawn for a lot of it.
Hmm.
And then it's kind of just a bad forest for a lot of it. Golden Gate Park is beautiful and incredibly beautifully maintained and beautifully curated and has like so many odd, interesting geographic features. It's really absolutely gorgeous. What you can do is go on this route. My friends Preston and Evan, shout out to them, started doing a bike trip on this exact route every Friday morning that they refer to as bike religion. What you do is you start at the far east end of the park,
Okay.
so the beginning of JFK Drive,
Mm-hmm.
and you ride all the way down the park. It's about 4 miles, almost all
Through the
downhill
park.
through the park.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about 4 miles. It's nearly all downhill. It's nearly all no cars,
Hmm.
which is great, and it's very easy. What you will see is the Conservatory of Flowers, which is an extremely beautiful.
Yeah. It's a
It's
good
a
place to go.
copy of a Victorian greenhouse in England. It's incredibly beautiful. You'll keep going down. You'll see the museums, the De Young and the Academy of Sciences, as well as the bandshell that was put there for the World's Fair back in the early 1900s. You'll keep going down. You'll see a
That thing is.
beautiful.
You mean like the big like dome thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the thing is crazy cool,
It's so beautiful. I live very
especially at
close.
night. I
It's
mean,
so beautiful. Yes,
it's
it's lit
kind.
up.
It's honestly like so. It's so surreal to
Mm-hmm.
describe if you don't know what we're talking about. It is this huge. So if you can imagine like four. I might be getting the number wrong, but four pillars that are maybe 100 foot. Like they're like not skyscraper height, but they're very big, like 5-6 stories tall.
Very
And
tall.
then atop those pillars, these big stone pillars, is this massive dome. A
A half
stone
dome.
half dome, yes, half
Yes.
dome. So it's kind of like when you look up into it, it doesn't look real because it's so big. Oh, Siri
Yeah.
doesn't understand. And I remember if you go there at night because it's like dark out, it just you look into it and it looks like an optical illusion, which is so
Yeah.
strange.
It's very cool. They light it up sometimes.
Hmm.
It's really gorgeous. Uh, that's just a very it's just one little place on this route. That's about 8th Avenue. We're going all the way from 0th Avenue or
Hmm.
Arguello down to 48th, where the ocean is. You're going to pass by that, you'll pass by Storybook Falls, which is a very beautiful little waterfall. You'll go further down. You'll pass, let's see, 4 separate lakes. You'll pass the bison. There are bison in a paddock in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
them.
Part of the, yeah, so they are almost all at this point, I think, matronly old female bison. Uh they're they look amazing. They're bison. They're American bison. They're
Yeah.
absolute mountains of just hair. It's wild. They're very strange to look at. But an important part of the bike religion route is you ride past them and you have to raise one hand and wave. You always wave at the bison.
Okay.
You'll wind your way down. You will exit Golden Gate Park, which appears to be a forest for most of it. You're on a road in a forest for mile after mile, and then you exit and you see the ocean. The Pacific Ocean is right there, and then
It's a nice view out there.
it's beautiful. And there's usually a taco truck if you need tacos after that. And if you walk just north of that, you'll find Land's End, which is also very beautiful. The Palace of Fine Arts is up there. Or no, I'm sorry, the Legion of Honor is up there. You can find the Land's End Labyrinth, which is a very cool little art installation overlooking this like beautiful rocky bluff. You can walk the labyrinth. It's a very spiritual experience. I do it every New Year's Day. You can do so much. You can find the beginning of the Lincoln Highway, which was the first cross-continental highway back in 1913 or something. It started there. That's where it starts. I know. It goes all the way from the Palace of Fine Arts to Times Square.
Does it really?
It does.
Times Square?
Yes. There is a sign in Times Square that is boop. That's where the Lincoln Highway ends.
I had
It
no
was the
idea.
first cross-continental road. It's so cool. It's so cool. San Francisco is such a strange place for being important to history, but having had most of its history a little bit forgotten. It's kind of great for that. There's all these weird little things to discover. It's so much in such a small little package. And I haven't even covered a tenth of the cool things in town.
Right. I mean, I don't think any. Okay. You mentioned that some of the things were a little bit touristy, but honestly, I don't. I think at most it's things that tourists might do, but it's not
Yeah.
touristy.
No, because these are all things that I do all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. There's no like artifice in any of these things. It's just San Francisco things.
Yeah. It's a
And
beautiful town.
yeah, I haven't gone on a nice like actual bike ride in a while. I would love to do that. That sounds like so much fun.
Do it. It's so cool. It's the best.
Do you get to see the polo fields on that bike?
I don't
Because go ahead.
You wind past them, but I think you are just a little bit too far south
Okay.
on this route.
Okay. Because I was looking at my map. Okay, so another side tangent. I have been thinking about polo lately because I listened to a podcast about how Walt Disney was in a very serious polo injury accident. And that's one of the reasons why things exist in our world the way that they do.
Right.
Because
He became an indoor kid.
yeah, he like crushed or something like 4 vertebrae, like some major accident,
Oh,
bad
that is dangerous.
accident. And apparently like his horse was responsible or someone on his team was responsible for killing a couple people.
Oh my
Like
God.
it was like Wild West polo that Walt Disney was involved with. And the reason and like once that happened, he had to stop playing polo and started getting, because he was in so much pain, he had to get massages every day. What he would do is there was a woman who would give him a massage every day. I think her name was Hazel.
Okay.
I think. And while she was doing that, he would drink a bunch of whiskey and then drive home. And that was his everyday routine. And this is while he was doing like the early Disney stuff. But one day, Hazel goes to the World Fair and she sees a bunch of themed experiences. And the next day she goes back and she tells Walt Disney, God, this was so cool. Like everything was in one place. And Walt Disney, that like, this is not rumor. That's where Walt Disney World came from. That, or the idea for Disneyland came from his massage therapist that he only would have had if he had gotten the polo injury.
Wow.
And she later on went on to be like a pretty significant but unofficial idea person, I think, for him.
Cool.
So much so
Wow.
that once Walt Disney had passed later on, and the writing about Hazel was kind of like all out there,
Mm-hmm.
a major celebrity of the 80s was like befriended her and was asking her a bunch of questions. His name, Michael
Mm-hmm.
Jackson.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, so I've been thinking about polo a lot, and yesterday I was like looking on Google Maps and I saw there was a polo field there. I was like, what? What's going on in that polo field? I didn't know there was that in Central Park.
Wow. While we're doing history of animation and stuff like that, and horses,
Mm.
another piece of weird San Francisco history is that right in the neighborhood that I'm in, the Inner Richmond, Edward Muybridge, whose name you may know, Edward Muybridge, you've definitely seen this, was a photographer who, just on a bet, wanted to prove that as a horse runs, at some point in its stride, all four hooves are in the air. And he did this by taking a series of photos
Mm-hmm.
that ended up being the foundation for film, for
Yep.
like motion pictures.
Yep.
That all happened, or he got the idea for it at a racetrack in this neighborhood.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know that. I
Yep. I
know
don't
at
think he
the
filmed it here.
right. God, that's so fascinating. At the Musée Mécanique, which is something else I would recommend highly, that
Yeah.
there's a thing of that.
Yeah.
There's
A little Zoetrope or something.
yeah, a little zoetrope. And you can
Cool.
see and you like peer in and it's like, oh, the horses are moving. But that I feel like that series of images has been recreated so many times and like the original reference is lost, but that's good to know where it comes from.
Yeah. Isn't that neat?
Yeah. Wow. Awesome.
I love this town.
Well, thank you, Rosemary, for sharing because not only have all of our listeners now have made themselves an itinerary, I have homework and things to do. I
Yeah.
would even venture to say that maybe we have more things to do.
Yeah.
The two
I'm
things
excited
in
about that.
particular being the bike ride and the movies.
Yeah. I'm into this. I'm into this. I have to put
Hmm.
some air in my tires, but yeah, let's do it.
I need a bike. I don't have a bike.
Okay. So I'm a little bit farther along than you,
You're a
but
little further along, but I'll
that's
get
okay.
there. I have my stationary bike, but it doesn't really fit this
Yeah.
situation's need.
Right.
Before we go, Rosemary,
Yes.
is there
Hi.
anything you would like to plug?
Well, if you would like to learn more about my work as part of the Galaxy Brain Collective, you can go to galaxybrain.co, or you can just email us, hello@galaxybrain.co. We do a lot of stuff, including a very weird, very niche podcast called Brain Tape that I'm not going to try to describe right now. I would love for you to listen to my music. I'm Fennel Flowers. You can find me on Spotify or Bandcamp, and
Fennel Flowers is 2 words or 1?
2.
Okay. Fennel space flowers.
Fennel Flowers, yes.
Fennel
New EP coming out soon. New EP
How
is
would
called
you
Hard to Hold.
How would you describe the vibe of your music?
Alt rock singer songwriter, influenced by modern fifth wave emo.
Okay. I having heard your music before,
Yeah,
I must recommend
thank you.
that the listener go out and check it out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Of course. Cool. Well,
Cool.
thank you, Rosemary, for joining us. You're nodding your head to the listener. The head was nodding.
Yeah, thank you for giving me an outlet to just like talk about San Francisco for an hour. A thing that I will do unprompted, even if there's nobody in the room.
Just to the wall. You talk to the
Yeah,
wall. You tell your wall. Okay.
yeah,
You make
totally.
okay. Good to know. You tell
Yeah.
the walls heard. The walls have secret. What's the phrase?
The walls have ears.
The walls have ears.
Is that right?
If these walls could talk, I think that's what I was talking about. If these
Okay.
walls could talk. Um, if you enjoyed this podcast episode or any of the other My Trans Best Friend podcast episodes, I read every 5-star review that comes through. So maybe you want to go on Apple Podcasts while I'm definitely vamping and making sure that there aren't any new reviews. My Trans Best Friend on Apple Podcasts. Also, I think I don't really have anything else to promote myself. So yeah, follow me on TikTok and Instagram, Lily Tino, if you haven't already. Patreon.com/LILLYTINO. And until next week, stay lovely.